How you doing, Will?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Yeah. So it's been a while since I've seen you. I think you were just finishing up that race the last time I seen you, and you were all sweaty.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was the last time we saw each other, huh? Yeah.
No, I guess you were here the other day just spraying for bugs, but
Yeah.
we didn't get to talk for very long. It was just a few minutes.
Yeah, we that race though, it was a pretty good one.
What was the date? That was September.
28th.
Yeah, September 28th. Dude, I've never seen anybody so worn out before in my life. That was fun. It was a nice atmosphere at the marathon at the finish line. I had a lot of fun the short time I was there. But watching you cross the finish line was inspiring because I knew there's a whole race, man.
Yep.
But how long are those races again?
26.2.
26.2. That's
Yep.
man. So that was your first one, right?
That was the first one. I took it easy. I wanted to make sure I finished. I think I could have gone faster, but my main goal was just to finish.
Yeah.
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 And just get a feel for it. And whenever I do it again, I'll probably go faster.
Yeah. So what was it like crossing over the parts where you'd done a half marathon before and then that was it?
Yeah. So
What was it like going further than the half?
further than the half, I've gone further than a half. So I've done 20 miles,
Okay.
but that was a couple weeks leading up to the marathon.
Right.
And I finished that goal. I think I talked about it on one of your, like the first or second podcast. Whenever we did.
The second one, yeah.
I told you my main goal was to start at my house, go to Benton, and then come back to my house,
Right.
which was exactly 20 miles.
Yeah.
And I was able to do that 2 weeks before the marathon. So that was
awesome.
my furthest one. But I think I started to hit a wall right around 23 miles.
Yeah.
23 miles, right around there. But then I thought about it. I was like, all there's left is 3 miles. That's what I kept thinking in my head. All there's left is 3 miles. That's a 5K. I can do this.
Right.
So I just started ignoring all the pain. I had so much pain in my ankles.
Yeah.
That's a new pain. I've never had that before.
It's
That
like
was my
bone
very-
pain.
It was almost like my feet or my ankles were rubbing up against my shoes.
Yeah.
I'd never had that pain before. It was like I said, it was going past that 23 miles. That's when I started to feel it. It was
Yeah.
my ankles, and they were killing me, but I just ignored it. I kept pushing, and I left the pacer I was with because I had a pacer with me most of the race up to those 23 miles.
Now, what's a pacer?
A pacer's a person who's going to go through the whole race, but he's got a certain time that he's going to finish.
Right.
So they got these little wristbands, watches, and stuff that let you know what time that they're going to be, at this mile, at that mile, at that mile. So they make sure that they finish at a certain time.
Wow.
So I knew that my pacer, he was 4:45.
Right.
So that was kind of like my goal of where to finish and everything. But I left him around 23 miles. I was like, hey, man, I'll see you at the finish line. We'll take a picture together, okay? So I told him that. And I kept running. I ran faster than I was going, my main pace. And I finished about 5-6 minutes ahead of him.
Hell yeah.
So 4 hours and 36 minutes.
Now, watching you cross that finish line, it was a little emotional. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I was proud, of course, watching you cross the finish line. But then when I got up close to you and saw you, you were a bit emotional, which
Yeah.
made me a bit emotional. Tell us what that's like.
I just kept thinking about my buddy Grape. I miss him a lot. So that's who I was thinking about. And getting to see my family there at the end too. That was pretty emotional too.
Yeah.
I saw them about halfway through down on the south side. Whenever I went to Benton and was coming back up those hills and was coming back down the hill, I saw my family. They were sitting over there on the side of the street and they were just waving by themselves. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I started getting a little bit emotional there. So a lot was thinking of Grape and then getting to see my family at the end. So that was probably
awesome.
the most emotional part right there.
That's awesome. And I'm glad I was there to watch you finish. That was inspiring and I had fun for the short time I was there. But then you ran a couple weeks ago as Halloween, wasn't it? Or for Halloween?
So there was
ran
two
as
races.
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, there was 2 races I ran as Forrest Gump. There was the Spooky Sprint, which was put on by Body's Race Company.
Yeah.
Right before that race, that was 2 weeks before Halloween. Right before that race, News Press Now was actually out there, and they interviewed me before the race. So
Yeah.
I was on TV and everything. Yeah, I got to talk a little bit about, showing, and I talked about how, showing my daughters, being physically active and everything. So they put that little part right there in the interview. So the next morning I watched on the news. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Apparently,
I made it.
Apparently I'm on TV sometimes. KQ2 was out there at the voting polls.
Oh, yeah?
The other week when the election Tuesday, they were sitting out there and the weather lady was the one out there, and she was struggling, and she's like, well, I overheard her talking to her camera guy, and she had said, well, if I can find somebody to talk to me, and I know what that's like. I'm a podcaster, so it's like finding somebody that's willing to go. I get people to talk to me all the time, but finding people that are willing to go on camera on YouTube, it's difficult sometimes. So I know what that's like, and so I was like, hey, you need somebody to talk to about what's going on today, and she's like, yeah, you willing to talk? And so I talked for a few minutes, and I don't know whether they used it or not. I didn't watch.
You didn't go back and watch?
No, I didn't. I wasn't too worried about it. And then my buddy was watching a couple weeks ago. Well, no, it was a couple days ago that he told me. He's like, I seen you on TV. It was the commercial where they're advertising for KQ2, and they didn't show you talking. They didn't show you saying anything, but they showed your picture.
That's cool.
And I was like, well, nah. That's locally famous, I guess.
Yeah, I think why they actually picked me out is because they were trying to interview people like that put on the Bodies Race Company.
Yeah.
I don't think they wanted to, like the Bodies
Really?
Race. Yeah, because I remember them going up to them and asking them for an interview, and they were like, no, you can go. I don't know what they said to them, but they were kind of like pointing, ask somebody else.
Right.
They didn't want to do the interview, so I was just kind of watching, and then all of a sudden she taps me on the shoulder, and I think it was just because how I looked. I kind of stood out. Not everybody was dressed up for that race.
Right.
So I think it was just so well put on, because the very first thing she said was, she was like, first off, great costume.
We'll show a picture. We'll show a picture of what you were what you're dressed as.
Yeah, I sent a couple
Forrest
photos.
Gump.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Those photos, before I move on, I actually got first in that race.
Really?
So that it was a half marathon. And there wasn't very many people out there, but I still, like, right around 3-4 miles, I turned around and I was like all alone.
Right.
There was nobody behind me. I was running by myself. There was nobody around. And I was like, I think I got this. I think I got this. So the turn back around, coming back and going back up to Krug Park, because that's where it started, I was still waiting on the rest of the field. Like, I was like, where is everybody?
That's awesome.
In like 5-6 minutes, they're starting to come back over the hill. I'm like, wow, I've got such a lead here.
So what did that feel like?
I don't know. I just never had that feeling. It's just the sense of I'm doing better than I actually thought I was going to do. It's a really good feeling. It really is.
I bet it is, because that's much like my whole life. I've always done things and thought, wow, that's not that big a deal or whatever,
Right.
but it's a big deal to somebody, and so I never really thought of it that way, but I could just imagine being on top of a hill and looking down at, though, yeah, I've got a pretty good lead. Let's go. And so you turn back around and then you go finish the race?
Yeah, so I finished, and they were telling me too, like the people that were the aid stations with the water and everything, they were saying, hey, that guy keeps asking where you're at there, and I've been telling them that you got a pretty good lead. So I get to the finish, and my family's all there, and I'm sitting there waiting, and I finished around 1:38. And I'm sitting there still waiting for that second place guy. He comes up over the hill, and here he comes, and he goes across the finish line, and it was like 1:43. So I had a 5-minute lead over the guy in second. And it was actually his first race. So I felt like, dang, man, like I didn't want to, break his spirit a little bit, but man, I wish he could have got the first place, because it was his first race. But at the same time,
that's what makes you a champion.
Yeah. And it felt good just to watch him go across the finish line, and his wife jumped on him. First of all, nobody wants to be picking up somebody that just ran that long. So I'm like, wow, this lady's doing the most right here. But she jumped on him.
Did he stay up on his feet?
He did. He picked her up.
Awesome.
you know, and I thought that was kind of cool, you know, that she, you know, jumped on him like that. But I was just like, man, that's a lot to do to be doing that to someone who just ran that long.
Man, I tell you what, dude, I was at the paint store and I picked out this color for the paint by myself. I was so proud of that. I was really so proud of that. And then, you know, you're talking about finishing first place 5 minutes ahead of second place. That's wow. I'm proud of paint. So
it's a good color. I like it. I do
thank
like
you.
The whole
Thank
setup
you.
in here is really nice. You got the blue, got the Chiefs pictures up. You know,
So-
you couldn't have done any better.
the inspiration to do all this was really, it gets too cold in here in the winter and too hot in the summer. I sat in here baking in the summer, and I mean, you couldn't tell because it was a little dark in here. And that was another thing. While we had all the podcast equipment in the main house, I ended up having to record a podcast in the house, and all that natural light pouring into the house.
Yeah.
It looked really good on camera. And so I was like, we got to get some different lights. I'm really glad that we decided to add more lights. We put in those big 4 LED lights. Those are the bright ones.
Oh, nice.
And then the track lighting here. I've always wanted track lighting anyway, but it's not the brightest bulbs in there. I have to change the bulbs. And then we got these boob lights over here.
You know, I thought the same thing. You got double boob lights up there.
Yeah. So it wasn't designed to be that way. It's like, this is a garage. It's supposed to be a garage. So what I wanted was something that could utilize the existing lighting that we had in here, but I'd like the fixtures.
Right.
And my buddy had those for free. So
There you can't, you can't beat free.
I don't know if they came out of somebody else's house or they were bought for a project and never used or something like that. But he had those, and I mean, they're pretty decent lights. I like them. He pulled them out of the box, and I didn't realize that they were 3 bulb lights.
Oh, wow.
So the lights that were in here, it was only 2 single bulb fixtures in here, and that was it. Now we've got lights galore.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got some really good lighting in here, too.
And then we put electrical in this wall. It's all insulated and everything. And then, so we got heat, air conditioning in here for the winter and summer months.
Yeah, you can't beat that. Yeah, that last podcast, I remember it was pretty warm.
Yeah.
During the summer.
And, I mean, it's kind of warm in here now, but we could
Feels
get
good.
a little fan in here or something. It's not too bad. But
Feels really
it's only a little warm in here because it's warm in the main house. So, I mean, it's maybe a 1 degree difference between in here and in there, but it's not bad.
It's pretty good.
And it's not done yet. Like, we plan on doing a little bit more of this table. We're going to do like a custom built 1-piece table that goes from the wall to wherever. And I'm going to bring in different cameras, different way to record. That way we don't have to be PC dependent. And right now we have everything recording to the PC, and it takes up
Right.
massive amounts of memory.
Ah, okay.
So the new cameras and all that stuff, I mean, it's pricey. I mean, all the new production equipment's going to be like $5,000.
Dang.
So it's going to be about 6 months before I can even start.
Well, you made a heck of an upgrade because it's nice in here.
Hell yeah.
It really is.
Hell yeah. And I got a lot of help doing it from my buddy Lindley, and like my buddy Lindley did it all. Like, he did most of all the construction and shit. And because I don't know anything about construction, I know enough to get me in trouble.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, I could do it, but what it looks like when I'm done is a different story. And this is
Right.
my house. So now if he called me up and said, hey, can you come help me build my house? And I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem. If you want a fucked up house, whatever, that's on you.
A little bit of help with lifting things, but that's about it.
But
Yeah.
what it looks like when I'm done is, what it is. So you not only do you have to have confidence in what you're doing, but you have to know your limitations as well.
Yep.
So I know my limits, and I know what I'm good at. And that stuff's not good. I'm not good at that stuff. So I called him in. He did all the construction, him and his buddy, Paul Quinn, and they did the wall. They did the electrical, all that good stuff. I mean, I was here to help, but that's pretty much it. Like, I was here for moral support pretty much. But then my dad came over and painted, and
Nice.
like, I helped paint, but again, it was one of those things. Like, definitely the confidence was the issue with the painting, because I could have painted. but having the confidence to do it is a different story. So once my dad came over and we were doing the paint, he's like, you can do this. And he didn't even really ask. He's like, here's a roller. This is what we're going to do. And I was like, great, let's go.
Right.
And by the time we were done, I was like, hell, this was so fun. I'm going to paint the whole house. So
There you go.
But I probably won't do that.
Yeah, well, they did a good job, and you did too.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank
with
you.
picking out the paint. It's like it's a good color.
I've had these signs over here for like 3 years.
Just never put them up.
Yeah. So we were going to move, and the reason why I bought them is because they were on sale. The company that made them, KC Metalworks, shout out.
Nice.
But they had decided they were going to stop making them.
Really?
And because they mass produced them for a while, and when they decided they were going to quit making them, they put them on sale. Buy one, get one 50% off or some shit. Or buy one, get one free, something like that. I ended up paying $300 for the both of them.
Nice.
And I was like, I don't want to miss out on not having them. So I was like, I'm going to take advantage of this and get them.
There you go.
And they've been sitting in the closet just waiting for us to A, move, or B, put them up, and when we bought the house, I was like, great, I can put up my signs in my studio, and we can have it, but I never did. So now they're up there. So
They look good.
we're going to put shelving behind me. It's going to be really, really awesome when it's done. But now it's really kind of the new hangout spot of the whole house. We can really do anything out here as long as I'm not podcasting. That's ultimately the goal I want to have, is to be able to leave all my podcasting shit on the table, but still use it.
Right. Yeah.
And with the way I want to set it up, you could just fold the mics up and they're over here, not really being messed with. And I'll have 4 of them and we can use the table for whatever. My kid just mentioned the other day, he wants to invite some friends over to do D&D.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, well, where are we going to do it? I was like, well, there's a kitchen table. You can use that one or my podcast table, one of the two.
I mean, podcast table, you're out in a whole different room, kind of
Right.
away,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's nice in here.
And it's not soundproof, but there's enough insulation that anything that happens in here is not going to be a distraction to the main house,
Right.
and vice versa.
Yep.
So
Totally get that. Yeah.
and that was another thing that I needed, was to insulate this room from the outside, because anytime there was anything going on outside, you could hear it on the mics.
All right. I get that.
But yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of the podcast studio. It's nice and comfortable out here. I want to eventually put out a nice carpet, but for now, this shit will work.
Well, it looks good.
You wouldn't believe how much a fucking rug costs for
Yeah.
this size of room. Like the room is 12 by 13. 12 by 13 rug is like $700.
Yeah.
To
we were
get
talking
carpet
about
in
that.
here is like $400.
Like I said, you go to Ross, you can probably find some good cheap rugs.
Yeah.
That's where we got our last one.
I want something fuzzy, maybe.
There you go.
Something I can lay down on.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
But what's new with you other than racing?
Other than racing, I mean, that's just all it's been, really.
Prepping and
Yeah, I did that. Like I said, I was doing the.
how's the diet going?
I kind of went off of it
Yeah.
after the marathon. So that's what I was saying. The last 2 races, I did the Donut Dash right before Halloween. Those are the ones, the picture I was
Yeah.
in. I got 5th place in that race, but I feel like I could have done a lot better in that race because I was off my diet. I still stick to it once in a while. Like I'll have a meal here or there, but it's not like every meal I'm, hardcore sticking to it.
Right.
But I'd still know like the dairy messes me up. There might be, no, there's probably almond milk, but
My wife likes that oat milk.
oat milk too. Yeah. I feel like almond milk's a little bit better, but and like I said, I've gained a lot more weight. I probably look a little bigger
Yeah,
now.
you look a little bit
I was
bigger,
gonna
but you got
say.
some more color to you, though.
Yeah. So I run about once or twice a week. I've kind of ramped it up here in the last 2 weeks because I've got the turkey trot coming up.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's going to be on Thanksgiving. So, and then I've also got a volunteer race I'm doing. So, it's called the position I'm doing for volunteering is going to be called the turtle.
Yeah.
So it's the very last person in the race, and they make sure that the whole race finishes, like everybody finishes.
Okay.
So the last time I did the turtle,
So it's like a cheerleader at the back of the pack.
basically, yeah, I'm gonna have a speaker with me,
yeah.
and I'm gonna play some music pretty loud. Probably gonna be some holiday music because it's on the 15th of December, and it's
Yeah.
called the Candy Cane Course. Only problem is the route looks a little weird, and I don't know Kansas City that well, and
Yeah.
it's actually, I can't remember where it's at. I think it's Liberty, and I looked at the course, and the course is like all over the place and going through some streets that I've never seen before, but the course on the map and everything looks so strange. I don't know. I even know what direction I'm supposed to go in. But I mean, if I'm the last person, I'm the last person. So I'm gonna make sure everybody finishes. So
yeah.
it's not like I'm gonna be actually racing in it. So that'll be a lot of fun.
It sounds like fun. It sounds like a good day to kind of cut loose and relax doing what you love to do, because
Yep.
sometimes you got to take that shit seriously. You
Yeah.
know? And maybe on that day you don't have to take it so seriously.
Right. No, that's the best part is, you're not running as hard.
And you don't have to be the Grinch.
Right. I don't know what I'm going to dress up as. It's another thing I'm thinking of. Like, usually they say the person who's the turtle in that position usually dresses up as a turtle. But I don't know if I'm going to go that far. But
Right.
I'll probably dress up as something festive or something and do that. I have a Santa Claus shirt I might wear. But that's about all I'm thinking about doing. There's a
What do you like? What do you wear in wintertime marathons? Because I tell you what, dude, I hate being cold. So I know when you're running, you're probably not freezing your ass off. But
yeah.
how do you dress? How are you supposed to dress in those kind of races?
I don't usually wear sweatpants unless it's super cold, but I'll still wear shorts.
Yeah.
Probably some high socks. But I usually wear some long sleeves. But the only problem with long sleeves is I get kind of hot like halfway through the race, and I want to roll my sleeves up.
Right.
And they'll come back down. They'll start, they don't
Wear it
actually,
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they don't actually stay up. But sometimes I'll wear a double shirt, so double tees.
Yeah.
Like two t-shirts. But even then, it still feels like you're weighed down if you get too much on. So
Yeah.
I did a race back in February of this year, and it was pretty cold. And I wore 3 shirts. I wore a long sleeve and then two t-shirts underneath it because I was
Yeah.
so cold. And then halfway through the race, I was needing to take off the long sleeve and wrap it around my waist. But I think
And then you don't even have time to you don't have time to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
In the middle of a race, and you're trying to concentrate on not falling and shit.
Yeah. And I actually learned from that race, I was wearing too much. I wasn't really wearing too much, but there's called nipple chafing.
Chafing, yeah.
Yeah. So I learned that the hard way in that race. So now I wear Band-Aids on my nipples
Yeah.
so that I don't nipple chafe anymore. And it was so bad from that race back in February that whenever I took my shirts off, that shirt that was on the very bottom, it was a light gray shirt,
Yeah.
and there was blood running all the way down it.
Oh no.
So that was the worst it's ever been. Now I run with Band-Aids on there.
With pasties.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I go through Band-Aids a lot now. I wear them for every run. If I'm wearing a t-shirt, like during the summer, sometimes I wouldn't even wear a t-shirt. I just go
Yeah.
out and start running. But I also, if I'm doing just a couple mile run, I got a treadmill now. So I bought a treadmill a couple of months
yeah.
back. So now I can run on the treadmill and just if I'm doing a couple miles. And then, even then, I don't have to wear much of anything.
Right, because you're inside. Yeah.
I just put my shoes on and I got underwear on. And that's it. I ran in just underwear.
I'd have to have a towel with me, dude, no matter
yeah.
what I'm doing. So my hands sweat really bad, and when I feel it, it makes them sweat more.
Yep.
So I always carry around a towel with me. Like, I got
You
my
got to
chair's
tell-
on it now, but I got one right here. So I carry around a towel with me for my hands anyway. But like, I hate my face sweating and getting in my eyes and stuff, I'd have to carry a towel with me. Like by the end of the race, I'm sure it'd be just soaked, but it'd be that security blanket, I guess,
Yeah.
is wiping my forehead with a soaked towel or whatever. It'd still work, but you know,
Yeah.
I'd have to carry a towel with, just have to.
I've got headbands now.
Do those things work? Because
yeah.
for me, they just look weird.
They do look weird, but I didn't always have one. I had a headband, like an athletic headband, like a basketball one, where it's just the it has like the Adidas logo. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I've seen. I think I've seen the one. I think you were wearing one at that race. I think that was it. Yeah.
Not the marathon. I was gonna say races past before, because I just got these new headbands where it's like it covers the whole top of your head.
Okay,
that's the one I wore in the marathon.
I think I've seen one of them. I'm trying to think, maybe a picture on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the sweatband, like what basketball players wear.
Yeah.
Versus the one I've been wearing. This one I got a couple months ago, right before the marathon.
Right.
Those are way better. They catch so much more sweat, and like there's sometimes I don't even think I'm sweating, and then when I pull it off, it's absolutely drenched.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell the difference.
Yeah.
So I like these new bands that I got. And then I've got all different colors now, like green, black, blue. So it kind of matches with all what I'm wearing and everything. But sometimes I'll throw those on, but I'll either keep a t-shirt or a towel right there beside me on the treadmill. So I'll have that, because if I don't have a shirt on, I still feel that sweat, and it gets kind of itchy.
Yeah.
And like my arms will start to itch, or my back will start to itch, so I can just throw that towel or shirt and just kind of get the little bit of sweat off my back.
Right.
So I don't like that feeling of sweating either. So I know that is.
Yeah, it's irritating, and it just makes me sweat more.
Yeah.
It's my feet sweat, my hands sweat, dude. It's just a mess.
My main thing was getting sweat in my eyes, because when
Yeah.
I first started running,
that stings.
I didn't have a headband or a sweatband or anything.
And you're just walking around.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what it was. I was doing this all the time, just swiping my eyes, swiping the sweat off the top of my head. That's what I was doing all the time until I got a headband.
Get
and
a
now
squeegee.
now I've upgraded to these I don't even know what they're called. They're just headbands that cover the whole top of your head, basically. And like I said, they come in all different kinds of colors.
Sweat catchers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty. I hate sweating. But so we're in November, and you were talking about a race you got coming up in December. You started 2024 with some goals of running and competing and completing a full marathon. You got any big goals for 2025? But it doesn't even have to be like race related or anything like that.
Just staying with it. I mean, that's kind of like my main focus right now, because I kind of fell off. Like I said, I only run about once or twice a week now, and I feel like I really fell off. There was a couple weeks there I only ran like once, or didn't run at all. I think there was 1 week I didn't run at all.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was gaining a little bit more weight. I was getting a little bit more sluggish.
Yeah.
And I'm still feeling it. I still feel like I could do a whole lot better. And
Yeah.
because my main thing is not that I'm eating bad, but I'm eating too much.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, okay, I need to get back on track.
Yeah, I can definitely sympathize, dude, because I've gained like 40 pounds this year.
Really?
Yeah. and I didn't really notice, because I've been busy. I've been really busy this year, and I've been active, and then I started to think about it, and I'm like, man, I do eat a lot, and I eat a lot of calories.
Right.
So I probably ought to cut that shit out. And I need to get back on an exercise routine, because I haven't, since I started the podcast, it slowly dwindled over time to where I was exercising 5 days a week. Now it's, I'm barely doing 1 or 2 days a week. And, man, you really do feel sluggish.
Yeah.
You feel, I feel more depressed now as well. And it's not, I'm really not depressed. It's just more like, unmotivated. So it's more like clinical depression than anything. I think it's my ADHD. I really don't think it's depression. I think it's overstimulation causes understimulation for me. Overstimulation makes me not want to do anything at all. And then So I've been dealing with that a lot this year. And I think the studio is going to help out with that a
There you
lot
go.
because I didn't have a place where I could come out and work before. Now I can do exercises in here,
There you go.
you know, and it's not, I want a rowing machine, but until I do that, I can do my exercises like I've been doing. But I think waking up in the morning and preparing for the day, getting dressed, even
Yeah.
if I don't have to leave the house, get dressed anyway. I think that stuff would help, but I need to get back to the basics.
Yeah.
Because this year has been a freaking grind. While I've had a lot of fun and I've loved everything that's come out of the grind, I think it could be so much easier if I just get back to basics and do what I do best, and which is like schedules, routines. I'm very routine. I love to be able to know every day what I'm going to do the next day.
Yeah.
And I like to know what everybody else is doing in the house as well.
If I give you any advice, what I was doing, and I've kind of gone away from it, like I said, but get yourself a dry erase board.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for my marathon training, is I had a dry erase board. I had it on the wall. I had my whole month planned.
Yeah.
Every day was something, it'd be 6 miles, 10 miles, how fast I'm going to be doing those miles.
Right.
One would be pace, one would be fast, one would be slow, one would be long. Like every Saturday would be a long run.
Right.
And it would increase every week leading up to race day, and race day had some flames on it. It got like a little creative with it, but everything was on there. Even that 20 miler was on there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm very visual as well, like
Yeah.
that. And I do have a digital calendar, and I don't like it. I like the physical calendars where I can, and I was talking to my wife. I want one of those desk calendars that I can, like, cause they're huge and you
Yeah.
have the whole month on it, and then I could just write on it.
yeah, writing it down is the biggest thing.
Well, you see the size of my desk over there. It's not much of a desk. So that's when we go to finish the studio in here. I'm going to put the desk in. We're going to make a production desk for all the computer and shit. And that's
Yeah.
where I'm going to put all that, because that's going to be my main workstation. The podcast table is going to be the podcast table. But I'm really excited about getting back to the basics, though, because I've made it a goal, and part of that was getting the studio finished, and we're not quite done with the finishing touches that we were going to do. We still got some more foam block we got to do.
Right.
But once I got done with the podcast studio, I was going to then move my attention to the inside of the house, get it all cleaned back up and everything, and then figure out what routines work best for everybody. And I think my routine is to just get up like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, start my day, and, have my coffee and stuff. And when I start the day that way, I don't usually get dressed unless I have to take the kids to school. So I should get dressed anyway. and I don't normally take a shower until midday.
Right.
So get dressed in the day's clothes or whatever that I had on before, whatever it is, get dressed, and then get all the kids and everybody off to school. And then as soon as I get home, start my exercises.
There you go.
And then after I'm done with my hour or 2 hours, whatever it is, then go to work. And by go to work, I mean work on the podcast out here in the studio. So I think once I get that done, I'll be good. And just visually having those goals,
Yeah.
I think will help me out a lot. And it's funny that you mentioned a dry erase board, because I wanted to put one right over here on that door.
I totally
Because
recommend it.
that door will never be on camera, I don't think. I don't think, well, I mean, I'm going to have 3 cameras in here eventually, one over here pointing that way, one over there pointing this way, and then one over here pointing this way.
Oh, there you go. You get all the
So
angles.
yeah, I'm going to have 3 angles eventually, and that's a lot of money for cameras, but that wall will probably not be on camera very often. And if it will, it probably won't be up high. So
Gotcha.
a dry erase over there so I can visually see it.
Yep.
I think that would help.
Totally.
And then for the kids as well, having their schedules written down so they don't have to guess what they're doing that day.
Yep.
And I think the kids knowing what they need to do, or having their schedules available for them to see, it's going to help me out quite a bit, because they don't have to ask me, hey, what are we doing today, or what's for dinner?
Yep.
Or it's because it's already, hey, what's the calendar say? Today's Tuesday, go look.
Yeah. And then it's really an accomplishment too when you can go back to the dry erase board and cross off what you've done. It's
Absolutely.
a really good feeling of doing that, holding yourself accountable. I was going to say, I was supposed to run a race back this summer. I ended up having to go out to Colorado, help my great uncle. He's still not doing too well.
Oh, that sucks.
But I had to go out there and I had to miss this race. But I was talking to some people. It was for St. Jude.
Yeah.
For children's cancer research. So they were telling me, you don't actually have to be out the race. We can change your race credentials or whatever to just doing a virtual race.
Right.
And I read into the virtual races. I said, that's fine. I'll do that. So you can, she said, you can be anywhere. You go into the app, click on start. You can run as much as you want for how long you want. It doesn't have to be 3 miles, which
Right.
it was supposed to be a 5K. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. I saw the list of people on there. I mean, they had thousands of, steps, whatever steps.
Right.
But I went on there and I was out in Colorado. I was at Garden of the Gods. You ever been there?
No.
Or heard about it? Oh, it's
I've
so
not even
beautiful.
heard about it. I'm going to have to check it out.
If you ever go out there, Colorado Springs, Garden of the Gods, one of the best places to go. And I went out there and it was holding myself accountable. I'm going to do this race on that day. And I did, instead of 3 miles, I ran 14 miles.
Hell yeah.
And that was because on that day on my calendar was 14 miles. It was a Saturday. And like I said, on my dry erase board, it said 14 on that date. So I made sure I ran those 14 miles for that.
So did they do the pledges, or did you have to go out and get the pledges?
So you're talking about actually
Like
gaining money for
yeah,
the,
yeah.
so I think I got right around 300, just under $300.
Damn.
I had raised, and that was a lot of family and friends and stuff like that.
That's not bad though.
that
$300.
donated.
Hell yeah.
And I'm really good friends with a girl that was diagnosed at a young age with cancer.
Yeah.
So I joined her team. So as a team, we raised like $500 altogether.
Hell yeah.
So that was a really good feeling. And we were, like I said, I was supposed to be in Kansas City for that race that day, and I was going to run with him. So it felt kind of bad that I wasn't there. So I made sure that I was going to do my 14 miles out in Colorado. And I've got some pictures of that. I don't know if you've seen them.
And I think I may have. I see so much shit these days. Dude, it's hard to keep all
No,
that
you're
stuff in my
good.
head. It's weird because I haven't always been this way. I've always been the type of person I can usually recall things like that.
No, you're good. You're good.
But it's so much information coming in and out of my head these days.
Yeah.
It's like last week we had a big UFO hearing. Did you hear about that? Yeah, there was a UFO hearing, public hearing, and it was pretty cool.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, and there was another one yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, the government's popping off some shit, but
Given a little bit of a time.
yeah, I have no idea,
There's
man.
way more that they
the
know.
more it goes, dude, the more
Yeah.
I feel like it's military tech, all of it, and it's I don't know, man, and that's just the feeling that I get. Like the more I read, the more historical aspects come out, like from the 40s and the 50s and stuff. Like they could have been working on anti-gravitics, like, back in the 40s and 50s, and nobody
Right.
knew about it. And think about it like this, like the nuclear secret got out. It was leaked. And now like we have to deal with nuclear proliferation. What if it's that way for anti-gravitics too?
Right.
Like what if it's, highly guarded, more secret than secret, so it doesn't get out. And that's one thing that I think about all the time is, like, look, they protected these nuclear secrets and they still got out.
Yeah.
So,
You ever watched the show Fargo?
yes. Yeah. I love
What
that
season
show.
are you on?
I have no idea. Like it's been, I haven't watched any this year, but the last, I can't remember the last one I watched. And it changes every season too.
So
that's
every season's different.
Yeah.
Season 2. Was it season 2?
That's when they had that UFO flyover.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
Yeah.
It was kind of freaky because they. I don't want to give anything away or spoil anything, but the very
This
end,
was like a few years ago. So
right. The very end was, you know, they had that big shootout at the hotel,
that motel. Yeah, and the UFO passes over, and I looked that up.
That's so crazy.
I looked that up to why that was in there because they never addressed that. It was just there, flew over.
I know.
Nobody talked about it in the show. Nobody really addressed it in the show. So I looked it up to find out why, and it was because like UFOs
really
were
happened?
prevalent. No, well it maybe
because they say some things are based on true events.
Right.
It's not. You know.
I know that says that, but none of it's true.
Right.
So, but the UFO scene was just because like UFOs were popular and very, very like influential back in the 70s when the show was set.
Yeah.
And so it was just thrown in there just as a nod to that, but it really didn't mean anything. It was just why.
I love that show.
But I really liked how they saw it and nobody addressed it.
Yeah.
I really liked that. That was fun.
That season was one of my favorites, and I liked season 3 too. Season 3 is real good.
See, my head is so full of that shit. I mean, I can't remember if I saw the picture of you on Facebook or not.
No, you're good. Those pictures of the Garden of the Gods. If you would have seen them, I think you would have remembered them because I'm like standing in front of the mountains and everything. And
Oh yeah, I love vacation photos. Period.
I stopped a couple tourists that were out there, and I was like, "Hey, can you take a quick picture of me?" And I showed my shirt, and I did a little inspirational thing, you know, like live your life to the fullest potential. Some of us don't get that opportunity. Donate to St. Jude, you know.
Hell yeah.
And that 14-mile run was pretty exhausting.
Oh, I bet. What was the elevation?
Oh, I could probably
Was
look
it
it up
high?
on my
Yeah.
It's definitely high, but the hills going up and down, you know, you got a whole lot of elevation going there too. So you're going up, down,
Right.
up, down. That was a lot of fun. And I get to the very end, and I'm finished with the 14 miles. I'm done, and then I get back to my car, and I'm just feeling nauseous and sick. And I don't know if I talked about this on the last podcast, but like eating before I run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I did that. I don't know if I did that day, and I got pretty sick. I didn't throw up or anything, but I got nauseous. So I walked back into the main travel or the what do they call it, the tourist center, you know.
Yeah.
And I walked in there and I was talking to them, and I told them before I was going to go run, I was like, how. You know, what's the best places to run and everything? And she goes, well, if you do the whole thing, that's about 7 miles. And I told the lady, I was like, well, I plan to do that twice then. And she's
Right.
like, 14 miles. I'm like, yeah, I plan to do 14 miles. She goes, well, if you do that, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that. So if you come back in here, I'll give you every sticker.
Hell yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. And like I said, I was finishing
You
up. and
feel
I
like a kid again.
Yeah.
Like working for stickers.
Stickers, yeah. They were really cool stickers and everything. I went back in there and I told her, you know, I finished and everything. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's so good. She's giving me all these praise. And then I told her I had picked up trash too, because when I'm running along, I found little pieces of trash, put them in my pocket of my book, like backpack, my little hydration backpack.
Yeah. What do they call them fucking things? Camelback.
Hydration packs, or like that, yeah. And I was putting them in the pockets of there, so I had all this trash that was, you know, piled up in this backpack. And I told her, I was like, I picked up some trash out there too, and she was just like, her mouth just drops, like, we love you. She goes, told the guy beside her, give him every sticker. So I had like 6-7 stickers when I came back and everything. I thought that was kind of cool. But it's so surprising how many people litter out there. It blew my mind because I saw it right in front of me. The like line of cars will like get backed up in there because I mean everybody's driving through, and I'm on the road. So I'm running on the road, and there's like a little, like, it's like the bicycle lane that's off to the side. So I'm running on that bicycle lane, and people are literally just throwing their Burger King wrappers out the...
No shit.
I swear to God, right in front of me. And I just sit there,
I used to
snatch
see
it up,
that
put it in
shit
my
back
backpack.
in the early '90s.
Yeah.
But I can't believe that people still do that.
They
shit.
do.
I mean, that drives me nuts.
And especially in a national park like that.
Yeah.
And like, that's what I was just like, dude, this is sacred ground. This is something you don't really do. You know, it's we're trying to keep this place clean, and there's so many alcohol bottles. And
It's like, hey man, we don't like taxes any more than you do.
Right.
Now stop littering.
Exactly.
So we can, like all these park rangers don't have to pick up all this shit.
Yeah.
You know.
It blew my mind, and I knew because whenever I ran through, I did it twice. And when I was coming back again on that second loop, I was finding new trash.
Yeah.
So that means that there's just people literally just throwing their stuff out. And I'm like, gosh, guys, come on. Let's be a little bit better.
Right. So when was that? How long ago was that?
It was probably 3 or 4 weeks before the marathon. So it was right around the middle of September.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. So you're in Colorado, right? And you hanging out with a lot of people in Colorado at that time? Mm-hmm. You see, like you were out in public.
Yeah.
Did you see a lot of division from people or did you see like, so what I think of, I don't see a whole lot of division in my day-to-day life. When I walk outside my front door, you know, I see the general public is, you know, it's the public. They're indifferent. I see, you know, people with blue hair holding doors open for Vietnam vets, those kind of things. And I'm stealing that from someone, I'm sure. I'm sure I've heard that from somewhere, but that's what I see.
Right.
Did you see division or did you see like what we're used to seeing back, you know, when we were kids?
I don't think so. I didn't see a whole lot of division. There was some homeless out there.
Yeah.
I saw, like, you know, there was a guy who wanted to clean my headlights.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, for a couple bucks, can I clean your headlights?
Yeah,
was
I
like,
haven't seen that shit since the 90s.
Yeah, so I was like, nah, buddy, like, you don't have to do that. And I
Right.
just gave him a couple bucks.
Yeah.
I just gave him a couple bucks. He didn't. I was like, you don't even have to do it, man. It's not a big deal. And it was a work vehicle. So I'm like, man, nah, you don't have to do this. It's no big deal. But what I kind of like, that same guy, he was like, oh, thank you. He kind of was like walking behind me. Like he
Yeah.
wanted to walk behind me and I'm just doing this like,
Yeah.
like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, I just gave you a couple dollars.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that we gotta all be careful and
Always aware of your
be
surroundings.
always aware. That's the thing that's like on the uptick these days. But when I see a bunch of division on the internet and social media and stuff, and I was just curious and wanted to get your perspective. Like you've been out to
No.
Colorado and
don't think so.
running around here, and of course you talk to people, you run, and
Right.
and so you see a lot of people. I don't really see division either. I think I see a lot of pot stirrers on the internet that think that all, you know, we are our government type of thing. And when we say identity politics, what I mean when I say identity politics is that these people that see all the division have made politics their identity.
Right.
Not necessarily like gay, trans,
No,
you know, and
I didn't see a whole lot of that out
Democrat and
there.
Republican.
Really, I didn't. Like I said, all I saw was just homeless people. Like that was the main shocker between here and out there.
We hide our homeless better here.
Either we do, or we're better at sheltering them. Or
That's possibly
I don't
it.
understand it because I was in a really nice hotel. My grandmother, she got me a hotel room because I would love to stay with my uncle, but he's a chain smoker.
Right.
And the last time I was in his house, it was on.
Came
my
home sick,
clothes.
yeah.
I mean, and my chest hurt. and
Yeah.
So I was in this really nice hotel, but literally right around the corner from the hotel, there's a guy sleeping in the bushes.
Yeah.
I mean, in the bushes with a blanket. And I'm just like, geez, like you see a lot more of it out here. And then,
Man, I got to take you to Chicago.
Is it pretty bad out there?
It's bad. It's bad. They don't even try to hide their homeless there.
I went to, I was at a Taco Bell and I'm sitting at the Taco Bell and right across the street is a Little Caesars. And like, you could see like every homeless man had a Little Caesars
Yeah.
box in their hand. I don't know if they were handing out pizzas or
It's because it might be because it's cheap. Like they can panhandle for a
Yeah.
few bucks and go get a whole pizza for $6.
I guess so. Cause like I said, I saw like 2 or 3 homeless people just sitting out there with a box of pizza. And I
Or
don't know if
somebody
they-
walk by, or somebody walk in and get a pizza. And,
Yeah.
Here you go. You hungry? That
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
stuff,
that was but that was the only cultural shock that I saw. There's a lot of nice people out there though in Colorado.
Kind of weird though that that's a culture shock, because we do see homeless here. It's not like we don't.
Yeah.
But I do think there are less homeless here than in Kansas City for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why. Other than there's more resources in Kansas City.
Probably.
But
The driving's way worse out there. I can tell you
Yeah.
that. Way worse.
What was that like?
I saw an accident right in front of me.
Yeah.
I was sitting at a stoplight and someone just blew through the stoplight. Bam! T-boned the other lady.
Yeah, you
turning
think-
left. I'm like, damn! Like,
think
I'm just here for
driving-
an hour.
you think driving in Kansas City's bad until you go elsewhere.
Yeah, everybody's speeding like it's ridiculous.
Really?
That's
That's
they're
the
fast
that's
out
the
there.
thing that I have. Like in Kansas City, nobody's going the speed limit. It's
Yep.
80 or nothing. And so that's my experience in Kansas City, is that we're fast drivers. And when I go other places, that's what I notice the most is they're not. They tend to go slower than we do in Kansas City. But again, I'm a cross country driver. I drove from here to Disney World in one day.
Oh wow!
24 hours. So
Yeah.
like when we left, my wife started driving and she drove, I don't know, like 12 hours, 13 hours. So, I mean, she was wore out when she stopped.
I bet. Yeah,
And
it's
then
a long trip.
It's like, well, there's only 12 hours more. We could stay at a hotel, which
Or
we
just
didn't
finish
really
it
have
up.
the money for.
Yeah.
Or we could go and rest up when we get there. So we drove from here to Disney World in it was like 26 hours and some change. Mm-hmm. And man, I'm telling you what, that's the way we do everything now.
Mm-hmm.
And because we had more time to F around, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like we did see some things on the side of the road, and we stopped at some places, but it was really the more time we had at the destination. And I don't see a reason to drive for 12 hours and stop and go to a hotel unless everybody's cranky,
Right.
or bitching, or, body hurts or something like that. I don't really see a point, because it's like, what am I going to do at the hotel? Like, I'm not going to have fun. Like, we're going to, go get dinner and then be bored at the hotel. Let's just
Yeah.
finish out and get to our destination. So that's how we do everything. But I want to plan a trip out west that we're not doing that. We just take a 2 or 3 week vacation and start here, go through Colorado,
Yeah.
go to oh shit, that big hole in the ground. What do they call that?
Grand Canyon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've been there a couple times.
Go down the Grand Canyon, or Route 66
Mm-hmm.
to the 10 or to the one highway or 101, whatever it is, that goes up the coast in California. I think it's the
That'd
one
be cool.
highway.
Yeah.
And up to the Redwood Forest.
Yeah.
All up in there, and then drive that up into Oregon and all them, go up to Seattle,
That'd
go
be
up to the
cool.
Space Needle, and then on the way back down, hit Wyoming and all them, and go through Yellowstone National Park and shit.
That would be
And
really
then
cool. Yeah.
Pikes Peak and Estes State Park in Colorado on the way back. Hell yeah.
That would be a nice trip. Hitting rest areas too. I usually, my tradition, if I'm ever going out to Colorado, I hit, there's a rest area in Arriba.
Yeah.
I always remember that. Arriba. So, I've hit that rest area about 3 or 4 times now, if I'm ever going out there.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite places to stop and rest. And cause if I'm driving by myself, which I usually am, I like to, at least stop, get a couple hours of sleep just to rest my head, let my body relax, and then get back to it, because after that it's like 4 miles left.
Right.
So it's not very much, but getting a little bit of rest before you go on the way. But you brought up going up to the West Coast, Northwest. There's a race, I think it's in Washington, And I've always, someone told me it's one of the best races that you'll ever want to do, and it's called the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And you start, it's a tunnel in the middle of a mountain, and you're running through it, and it's pitch black, and all you can see is the light at the very end. It's
That's
like
awesome.
yeah, it's like a pin dot. It's just very, 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 very small, and as you're running all the way through it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Hell yeah.
And then they said once you get to the very end, you go out the tunnel, and then there's like waterfalls, sides of cliffs, people rock climbing. I mean, they said it's
Hell yeah.
so beautiful. And but they said it's super expensive, so it's like a once in a lifetime thing that you got to do if
Yeah.
you ever go and do it. And then it's like
Oh, I'm
this
never going to
huge-
go do it.
it's like this huge breakfast that they give you too at the very end. It's like the best food you've ever had. And like it's supposed to be really good. And that's something I've always wanted to do, is go up to Washington State and do that race. But
Hell yeah.
I'm probably, like I said, it's going to be a huge goal down the road years
Right.
from now if I ever go to do it. And even if they still have it, you know what I mean? I'm sure they will, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of my main goals.
So was that a vacation that you went on to Colorado, or was it you just went out there for the race?
No. So it was to take care of my uncle. So I've been out there 3 times this year, and my uncle, he's, like I said, he's a chain smoker. He's very
that's
stuck
right,
in his
yeah.
ways. I love him a lot. He's in the hospital right now. What we're ultimately trying to do
He's
is,
not chain smoking in there, is he?
no, well, I don't think he is, but he's not doing too well. So we're trying to ultimately get him to sell his house, move back, or not back here, but move here, because he's lived out there most of his life, and I think that's why he's so stubborn. He doesn't want to go anywhere. I mean,
Right.
I mean, being older like that, I'm sure he wants to be out there for the rest of his life. So
Yeah, oh yeah.
So what we're trying to get him to do is come out here, so he's got family around him, because he doesn't have any family out there.
Yeah.
So I've been out there, like I said, about 3 times this year, and it's just to help out, to like clean the house, take care of him a little bit, you know, because like I said, he's not doing too well. His room, I cleaned his room for hours, just trying to make it nice and livable for him, and then I just got the call a couple weeks ago that he's in the hospital. So,
Oh boy.
yeah, I know. So, like I said, the ultimate goal is to try to get him to move out here. So,
Yeah. So do you go on vacations at all?
last vacation I did was last year in Branson. That was a lot of fun.
Man, I've never been there. I've lived in this state my whole life, never been to
This is
Branson.
my very first time being there.
No shit.
Yeah, I've
That's
lived in
funny.
this state my whole life
So
too.
how
so-
was it?
It wasn't bad. It's expensive.
That's what I hear.
It's very expensive. And then I've got a friend of mine who says it gets more expensive every year you go out there.
Oh, I'm sure.
So it gets even more expensive. More people, more more activities and things to do. And
Have you ever been to the Smoky Mountains?
I drove through them, Tennessee.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the Smoky Mountain National Park, it's the most visited national park in the
world.
United States. Yeah.
You know what number 2 is?
What?
Garden of the Gods.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
They told us that out there in Colorado. There's a person who's giving the tour.
Yeah.
He says it's the number 2 right behind the Smoky Mountains.
Hell
So,
yeah.
Yep.
So we went down there. And I've been down there a few times now, but so we went down there. The first time we went down there, it was like I'd never been to any mountains really. I've seen them from a distance, but never been in them.
The Appalachian Mountains. Yeah.
And so we went. We were there, and I wanted to do something special for the boys. And I took them up. We did a helicopter tour over
Oh, wow.
over Smoky Mountain National Park. And
That'd be
I got pictures
cool.
on my Facebook, or I'll have to send them to you or
Yeah,
something.
for sure.
Because there's like 20 of them. But we went through. It was like $600.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it was like $600 for 3 of us, and was up, and we were gone over the Smoky Mountain National Park and came back. We were gone for like 45 minutes, and it was me and my 2 older boys, and my middle son rode up front next to the pilot, and that was special because You know, he's never gotten to do anything like that. Whereas me and the older boy have. And so he's sitting there up front and enjoying himself. And when I was their age, I would have been freaking out that I was in a helicopter, but they did pretty good. You know, they were excited
cool.
and they were boys about it. And I would have been a little bitch for sure, but they took it on the chin and they had a great time, and it's something they'll remember for the rest of their lives. And not too long after that, I took my oldest son out to San Francisco. His older sister was getting married, and the ceremony was on a beach. It was pretty close to San Francisco. And her husband's family has some land out there, and they spend a lot of time out there. He grew up out there. He's from there. And so his family goes out there every year. And it means a lot to him, means a lot to their family. And so that's where he wanted to get married. And so I was like, when I heard that, I was like, I've never been to San Francisco. And so we took a weekend trip to San Francisco, and we hit most of the major shit to do in San Francisco in the weekend. We did all of it. And so I was really homesick when we went, but it was a pretty kick-ass trip.
I bet.
Those are the trips that I like to take, is when you get far enough away from home where you can forget where home is for a little while and breathe different air,
right.
You know, but in San Francisco, it smells like piss.
I was going to say, yeah, there's a lot of people out there too.
Yeah.
That's my anxiety. I love being away, but then I start to get this feeling where I don't know people and I don't know what they're thinking. And that's what my anxiety starts to go through the roof.
Right.
I carried my Glock out there in Colorado.
Right.
And it's open carry in Colorado. It's not concealed.
Right.
So it's a little different than Missouri. So like when that guy was behind me, I was like, man, what's this guy trying to do? So I got like my door open and I'm like right there next to my Glock. So if he's still talking to me, just jibber jabbering, and
right.
Oh, I see your license plates, Missouri, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, okay, buddy.
Yeah, I had some of an experience like that in Chicago, where a guy came up to us and he was an obvious grifter, you know. Mm-hmm. Hey, I see your license plates from Kansas. I'm from Kansas too, and this, that, and the other thing. I was like, oh yeah, where at? And then he's random town in Kansas. And I was like, yeah. And he said something. He said something about, you got any money? And I pulled out my wallet and handed him, I was like $5 or $10 or whatever.
Yeah.
And my family kind of made fun of me for it, but I was like, listen, I didn't know what the fuck he was going to do. I didn't know.
You don't know. You don't know what anybody's thinking.
I was basically just paying him to go away.
Leave us
and it's
alone.
not like I'm not scared of him or anything, but like at the same time, like what's a few bucks to get him to go away peacefully?
Yeah.
You know, and my wife said, so your wallet was out, and I was like, I don't give a shit. Let him fucking take it. Mm-hmm. Fuck him. You know, I can't be running around my whole life that scared, you know. Yeah. But I pretty much just paid him to go away.
Yeah, that's why my anxiety is through the roof, because I just don't know what anybody's thinking. I don't know what they're planning to do, and it's even worse.
It's hard to trust people these days.
It's even worse when I have like my kids with me, and I don't know what they're planning on. You know, if they're trying to snatch one of my kids or something. You know what I mean? That's what freaks me out sometimes.
Now, do you feel okay at home?
Oh yeah, I feel so comfortable
around here.
Oh yeah, I'll walk.
Me too.
I'll walk around anywhere downtown. Like I feel more comfortable in this town.
I feel comfortable in Kansas City too.
I don't go to Kansas City a whole lot, but
I don't anymore, but I used to spend a whole lot of time there.
Yeah, there's a couple places where I'm like, it's a little sketchy.
Well, there's a few places in Kansas City I've actually never been.
Right.
So, you know, but running around in the bad neighborhoods down in Kansas City, I have no reason to go there, but I'm not scared of it. Like, you know, it is what it is. Like, I don't think I'm really scared to do anything unless I have my kids with me.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a problem.
It's different. Yeah. I honestly, St. Joe, they say it's bad, but I mean, there's places
love it here.
I do too. There's places that are way worse, and I tell people that all the time, because I live down in Texas, north of Houston, which is Huntsville. So I mean, I've been through Houston. I've seen the places down in Houston. I've been in Denver. I've seen the places in Denver. Drove through Chicago, but I know what Chicago's like. So I mean, you just gotta be aware of your surroundings and stuff. But I like Missouri. I like St. Joe. like I said, I'll run around all of St. Joe night, day.
Yeah,
Like, it
so
doesn't really matter.
I grew up here. I was born here. I grew up here. And I don't know if I'm going to live here for the rest of my life or not, but if I do, I'm okay with that. Like,
Yeah.
and I hear it does hurt my feelings a little bit to hear people talk shit about St. Joe.
Because they've never been outside of St. Joe.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. People that talk shit on St. Joe, they've never been outside St. Joe.
Yeah. Or like if they have been, it's the little small towns
Yeah.
around St. Joe. It's not.
They've never been
So,
into those big towns.
As
big
far
cities.
as far as like how things are here, like we're pretty insulated from the rest of the country's issues right here. Like it's a small community, but it's a community.
Yeah.
And when shit happens here, we all come through for each other. And like when South End floods, we all come through and help
Yeah.
each other. And I really, really like St. Joe doesn't have any more issues than any other town its size across America.
I think you're totally correct.
Probably doesn't have many less issues than any other city its
Yeah.
size across the country, but it doesn't have any more. And when you see people walking around, they're just people, just like me and you. But then the people there are, a certain crowd on Facebook, when you get on there, it's just all they do is talk shit about their home. And it's like, look, man, the grass is greener where you water it. Take care of your surroundings. Take care of your home. Be proud of this fucking place.
Yeah.
And I started to get sucked into it there for a little while. Oh, St. Joe sucks. Oh, I hate it here. And really, man, when you look at it through the lenses of, man, I could live in so many other shittier places.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad that I was fortunate enough to be born here. And that's the long and short of it. Our city here has changed a lot over the years. It used to be a big industrial hotspot, and now it's slowly changing. Hopefully the manufacturing and shit starts to come back, because if they can make a deal on some manufacturing or whatever, it'll support the casino. It'll support all the restaurants coming in. It'll support all the mom and pop stores.
Yeah.
It'll support people like me. And, that's what I think of when people, St. Joe sucks. So do something to change it, man.
Yeah.
And if it's really that bad, man, go. You're free to go. You can go anywhere you want to,
Yep.
and that's how I think about it.
I think a lot of the problems usually is like drug problems. You got a lot of, you got a lot of drug problems out here, I guess.
But again,
And
no more
Exactly.
drug problems than a comparable city of its size.
I remember I told you I did that 20-mile run down to Benton. That morning, it was super early. It was like 5 a.m. and it was pitch black where I was running down. I was going right under 229, under that overpass, that bridge. I was going underneath it. And it was so dark. All I had was this little tiny light on my waistband.
Right.
And I wasn't paying attention. I kind of had my head down a little bit. And last second, I pulled my head up and I almost ran into two crackheads. And they were so friendly and nice. I mean, like any other crackheads would have stopped you and tried to rob you. Or
Your friendly neighborhood crackheads.
Exactly. And I just was like, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Like, I didn't mean to almost run you over. And they kind of moved out of my way. I'm like, no. Excuse me. Like, I didn't mean to stop you guys. And it looked like they were, they had some bags on their back. Like they were probably moving from house to house, whatever they were doing. But they were super friendly. No, you're good. Do your run, buddy. I was like, holy cow. I almost ran into two crackheads down there. It was pitch black.
That's what it's like here in St. Joe. Even the crackheads are helpful.
Right? It was super dark down there, but if they wanted to do anything and if it was like anywhere else in the world, I feel like it would have been totally different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could have easily stopped me and got me for where I went. I was super exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't have probably...
Well, they probably saw you didn't have anything on you.
I had my headphones. I had my phone.
Yeah.
I mean, if they really wanted to, they could have taken any of that.
Well, they had all that stuff too.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do love it here, and that's when we were talking about traveling and stuff. Like I'd love to travel, and what's unique about Missouri? Well, it's not unique really, but it's great that we're kind of in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
Like 12 hours in each direction, you can be a whole different culture.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of crazy, but I like being centrally located. I do. I thought many times. I think I'd like to end up in Tennessee, you know,
Yeah.
after a couple years, but then I start thinking about leaving Kansas City, and I don't know if I can.
Right.
You know, I've got the Chiefs, you know, I've got the
Yeah.
Royals,
Yeah.
I've got my kids, I've got, you know, and I should have listed the kids first, but you know, Chiefs Kingdom.
Yeah.
You know,
And they have some of the best laws here too. Like when I was talking
Yeah.
about the gun laws compared from here to,
it has constitutional carry here.
yeah, I mean, you have concealed carry, you have open carry. I mean, I think those are the two, like some of the best laws they are. What did they call it? The Second Amendment. I can't remember. They passed something here in Missouri. The Second Amendment.
I can't remember. It was fixing a loophole, I think.
It was like a SAP or something. Second Amendment Protection. SAPA. Second
okay,
Amendment
yeah.
Protection Amendment. I think that was what it was called.
Was that where they could arrest them federal agents? Yeah.
Yes, you're exactly right. I feel like, you know, if you got some of the best laws and stuff like that, you really don't
I
want to
think
move
your
away
state's
from-
really looking out for you and in your best
Yeah.
interest if they come right out and say, hey, if you get caught doing this by a federal, you know, a federal law enforcement officer and they try to
Yep.
hassle you, call us and we will get rid of them for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
because
yeah.
this is our state. This is where
Exactly.
we live, you
Yes,
know,
sir.
and around here, state laws supersede federal laws.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to fight and argue about it, they got to go through court.
Yeah.
Like, it has nothing to do with us. I mean, we let our opinions be known. You know, we voted. Our representatives, I feel like, listen to us a lot here. I don't feel represented by large government, but by our local government here. It seems to be okay. You know, here in the city, it could be a lot better.
Yeah.
It could be a lot worse too.
Yep.
But I feel like there's a trending upwards.
Yes.
I don't think it's going down. And I think when your state enacts laws like that, it's hard to be able to say, oh, you're doing that not to protect us. Well, yeah, we are, you know, and that's one of the astute observations of that conversation is the laws in this state. I never really thought of it like that.
Oh, yeah.
Tennessee's another good one where they have good laws there too.
Texas just passed their constitutional, or not I think they just passed open carry there.
Yeah.
Or no, they've always had open carry. They just passed concealed carry.
Yeah, so it's a constitutional carry state.
Yeah, so now it's a constitutional carry. And that was 4 years ago they just did that. So it's very recent. And all my friends were, you know, because I still got friends down there, bragging on Facebook, oh, our Texas has just passed this, blah, blah. It's like, Missouri's had that.
Yeah.
Missouri's had that for a while. So,
We're not all just a bunch of back-asswards hillbillies here.
That's exactly what they think down there.
Yeah.
They call it, I got called a Yankee for a long time. Oh yeah, they talk a lot of shit down in Texas.
Oh, I'm sure.
They do.
I'm sure.
They do.
Probably
But
just as much shit as we
talk about
Texas,
them, yeah, because I mean everybody thinks it's just nothing but cowboys and
Mexicans.
and- yeah, that's what they think. I
Cowboys
mean,
and Mexicans.
it really isn't down there.
I know.
I mean, there is a lot of
love it.
like
I love
country folk
Texas,
down
yeah.
there, but there's a lot of just regular people. I mean,
Yeah.
regular people just like all of us around here.
So I went down to the Gulf of Mexico, down in Galveston.
Yeah, I love Galveston.
We went deep sea fishing out there.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest things I ever did in my whole life. I was 15 years old, so I remember it just like it was yesterday. And before I go, I'd like to take my kids, all of them, to go do that, and that'd be fucking awesome.
That would be a lot of fun.
But yeah, I got a long way to wait for the 5-year-old because I can't see taking him out in the middle of the ocean and him being okay with that. So-
Right. That would be
but,
fun. That would be a lot of fun.
but well, I think I gotta go get my kids here in just a little bit.
Same.
I think it'd be a good place to wrap this conversation up. I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming over and hanging out with me for a few.
Real quick, you know, you were brought up the goals and everything. I think my main goal is really just to do better than I did last year at a
Yeah.
lot of my races.
Yeah.
So like the donut dash, I did 5th this year. Last year I did 8th. So like
shit.
I tried to, I guess if I'm doing any goals, just do better than I did last year.
I will line out my goals for 2025. So I want to grow the podcast and I want to monetize it. That's what I want to do in 2025.
There you go.
So all of this whole year has been in preparation to be monetized. And I really didn't, that was my goal when I started, was to be monetized, but I didn't know I was going to do it.
Right.
You know, I didn't really have any goals. So much like your goal, for 2025, I think my goal is also to be better in 2025 than I was in 2024 and keep growing and keep doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
Keep grinding and hopefully go on a damn vacation.
There you go.
So, but anyway, it's been a great day. It's been an awesome conversation. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me.
Thank you. I love being on here.
The next time I talk to you, I'm going to talk to you about moles because I about broke my ankles 50 times this year and moles are really bad. I want to talk about how to get rid of them.
Yeah, I got some tips. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I've got sweaty ass hands, but there we go. We'll see you later, man. Bye.
See you later.